Hi guys, it is Miss Holly, and this is Roaring 20 story time. And I'm gonna be upfront about it. This story time has a lot more books than songs and music, so I'm gonna get our sillies out with a song right at the beginning. So this one goes to the tune of "If You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands." Except we're gonna be going with "If You're Ready for a Story, Clap Your Hands." So let's get going. If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, clap your hands. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, clap your hands. Next one is nod your head. If you're ready for a story, nod your head. If you're ready for a story, nod your head. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, nod your head. And the next one will be rub your tummy. Do you think you can do that? If you're ready for a story, rub your tummy. If you're ready for a story, rub your tummy. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, rub your tummy. If you're ready for a story, sit so still. If you're ready for a story, sit so still. If you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, if you're ready for a story, sit so still. So we will be reading a Winnie the Pooh story during this story time because Winnie the Pooh actually was created in 1926. So almost lost the book there. Without further ado, Pooh's School Day. On a wet, cloudy day in the 100-acre wood, Owl visited Winnie the Pooh at his house. "It's too rainy to go outside and play," said Pooh. "Indeed it is," said Owl. Owl thought for a moment, then said, "I've got an idea. Get little Piglet and meet me at my house." Pooh arrived at Owl's house with Piglet in tow. He saw Rabbit, Eeyore, Tigger, and Roo sitting on the floor. He rubbed his nose and thought very hard. "I wonder what we're doing." "Hello, Pooh. Hello, Piglet. Today we are going to play school," Owl said. "And I shall be the teacher." "Wonderful," said Pooh. "But aren't there tests in school?" Piglet asked. "Perhaps," Owl replied, "but if you pay attention, you'll do fine." Tests sounded scary, but Piglet decided to be brave. "I'll be ready for them," Piglet said. "Just make sure they're not too hard." "Let's begin with some math," Owl said. "What is 2 plus 2? Pooh raised his hand. 11, he said. "Almost, but not quite," Owl replied. "The answer is 4. "What I meant to say was that it is 11 o'clock, and I always like a little snack at 11, said Pooh. Then he took out a honey pot and began eating loudly. Silly Pooh Bear. "Let's move on to the alphabet," Owl said. "What comes after A, B, and C?" "Whee!" Tigger shouted as he bounced around the room. "Almost, but not quite," said Owl. "The correct answer is D. Shall we continue?" "But bouncing is so much more fun," Tigger said. "How about some spelling?" Owl said. "C-U-P spells hiccup," Roo squeaked. "Almost, but not quite," said Owl, somewhat surprised. "Hiccup," Roo squeaked again. "Oh dear, I believe you have a case of the hiccups." With Piglet fretting about a test, Pooh eating, Tigger bouncing, and Roo hiccuping, no one was listening to Owl at all. "Everyone be quiet," Rabbit hollered. "I say quiet." "Thank you, Rabbit," said Owl. "Now, as I was saying..." Eeyore interrupted by raising a hoof. "Yes, Eeyore?" Owl asked. "This is not a very good game at all," Eeyore said glumly. "But why not?" Owl asked. "I find playing school to be quite enjoyable." Just then, a visitor appeared. It was Christopher Robin. Hello, everyone, he said. What are you doing? We're playing school, Owl said. Or trying to. Do you know what my favorite part of school is? Christopher Robin asked. Everyone shook their heads. Recess, he said. That's when you get to go outside and play. Everyone agreed that recess sounded like a grand idea. But isn't it too rainy to play outside? Pooh asked. The rain has stopped, said Christopher Robin. See? Well, in that case, Owl said, class dismissed. They all went outside to play and had a marvelous time. While everyone played outside, Piglet asked Pooh, what did you think of school today? I rather liked it, said Pooh, but I thought recess should have started much sooner. And that is the end of Pooh's school day. All right, so this book is called The Incredible Life of Balto, and it is by Megan McCarthy. And you might be familiar with Balto. I think there's a few movies about him. He's a dog from 1925. So let's learn about Balto. In the remote town of Nome, Alaska, a child was sick. Dr. Curtis Welch was called to his bedside. The doctor had already seen several others sick with a deadly disease called diphtheria and had to hurry if he wanted to make them well again. But he needed medicine that he didn't have, a serum. It was all the way on the other side of Alaska. There's the doctor. On January 20th, 1925, Dr. Welch sent a telegram. Nome calling, we have an outbreak of diphtheria, no serum, urgently need help. Nome calling. A blizzard had swept through Nome, making it nearly impossible to get there. Although 2 enthusiastic pilots volunteered to attempt the flight, flying in freezing conditions was too dangerous. What would the townsfolk do? Several days later, a telegram was sent back. Anchorage calling, 300,000 units of serum located in Railway Hospital here. Could serum be carried to Nome by mail drivers and dog teams? Could dogs carry medicine to save the people of Nome? There was no other choice. Dogs couldn't make the journey by themselves. People needed to guide them. Those people were called mushers. The mushers and their dogs would take the medicine in a relay, each team running one part of the journey and then handing the medicine off to the next dog sled team. 20 teams spread along the route from Niana. The serum had already been sent there from Anchorage, and waited at their posts, ready to race to Nome. It was 50 below zero when the journey began. Some dogs died on the way because their lungs burst from the cold. It's very cold. A man named Gunnar Caston was chosen as the musher to run one of the last legs of the race, and he picked a dog named Balto to be his leader. This was a surprising choice. Balto was inexperienced and not as fast as some of the other dogs. Nobody had ever thought he was special, till now. Casson believed in Balto, and Balto proved him right. Balto led the team through blinding snow that pelted their faces. In some places, the snow was so deep that their thin little legs hardly moved. When Balto's team finally got to the checkpoint, the next team was fast asleep. Casson figured it would take too long to get them ready for their journey, so Casson, Balto, and the team bravely pushed on. Exhausted and hungry, Balto used his amazing sense of smell to get back on the trail and lead his team onward. Eventually, they saw the lights of Nome in the distance. They had made it. Balto delivered the medicine to Nome in record time. Fine dog, Casson said, and then collapsed. Balto and his team were written about everywhere. Kids thought Balto was the greatest dog who ever lived. He was a hero. Balto, Casson, and the rest of the team boarded a ship to travel to California, where fans waited to meet the heroic dog. Everyone loved him. A famous sculptor named Frederick Roth was inspired to make a statue of Balto. Balto stood very still on two chairs inside Ross' studio to pose for the statue. He was very well behaved. When the statue was finished, it was erected in New York City's Central Park. Cassan and Balto traveled to New York to watch the unveiling. The statue's plaque read, "Dedicated to the indomitable spirit of the sled dogs that relayed antitoxin 600 miles over rough ice across treacherous waters, through Arctic blizzards from Miana to the relief of stricken Nome in the winter of 1925. Endurance, fidelity, intelligence." Balto then starred in a silent black and white movie called Balto's Race to Nome. While promoting the film, Balto stayed in the world-famous Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. At one event, he sat next to the movie star Mary Pickford, while the mayor adorned him with a wreath of flowers and gave him the key to the city, in the shape of a bone, of course. Balto, 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 he was everywhere. One company even named dog food after him. Grapple over money caused the dog sled team to be sold, and Cassan reluctantly had to travel back to Alaska without them. With a new owner, the dogs toured a vaudeville act. Vaudeville was a kind of entertainment in which a variety of performers, such as singers, dancers, and trained animals, appeared. It was a big thing in the 20s, vaudeville. Sadly, Balto and the team were sold again, this time to a man who ran a sideshow. There, Balto and all the others were all but forgotten. For a dime, people could go to the room and see the once celebrated dog sled team. But a Cleveland businessman named George Kimball paid a dime to see Balto and all the other dogs. He remembered the once famous Balto. How could this have happened? Kimball decided to buy him back. But Balto's owner demanded $2,000, which was a lot of money back in 1927. Kimball didn't have enough and was given only 2 weeks to come up with it. Kimball wanted to raise the money. With the help of the Cleveland newspaper, word of Balto's and the other dogs' poor treatment spread. Children donated their pennies, people passed around collection hats at their jobs, and stores asked for contributions. Thousands of people gave what they could to help the dogs. "We were just happy to see that bowl get bigger and bigger," said Garnet Bielfeldt, whose kindergarten class collected money to save Balto. Before long, Kimball had collected enough money. Balto and the others were saved. A headline in the newspaper read, "City smashes over top with Balto's fund." Cleveland had a parade in Balto's honor, and despite the rain, the citizens were happy. Welcome, Balto. Kimball donated Balto and his teammates to the Brookside Zoo so that all of the people who had helped rescue them could visit. Thousands went to see the dogs on their first day. "I didn't want to see the rest of the zoo. I just wanted to see Balto," said Garnet Bielfeldt. There, Balto could relax and enjoy the rest of his life. And that is the end of the incredible life of Balto. So now we are going to do a flannel story based on a story that actually did come out in the 20s. This is a very old book. It is called Millions of Cats, and it is by Wanda Gag. Once upon a time, there was a very old man and a very old woman. They lived in a nice house, which had flowers all around it, except where the door was. But they couldn't be happy because they were so very lonely. Look at them, lonely. "If only we had a cat," said the very old woman. "A cat?" asked the very old man. "Yes, a sweet little fluffy cat," said the very old woman. "I will get you a cat, my dear," said the very old man. And he set out over the hills to look for a cat. He climbed over the sunny hills. He trudged through the cool villages. He walked a long, long time, and at last he came to a hill, which was quite covered with cats. One cat, two cats. Cat's here, cat's there. Cats everywhere. Look at all these cats. Hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions of cats. Gotta get all my cats up here. Millions of cats for this old man. Oh my gosh, look at all these cats. Oh, cried the old man joyfully. Now I can choose the prettiest cat and take it home with me. So he chose one. It was white. This one looks white, right? I think so. But just as he was about to leave, he saw another one, all black, and it seemed just as pretty as the first one. So he took that one too. Do we have a black cat? Oh, we do, over here. He's kind of hiding though. Let's grab him. Got two cats. Then he saw a fuzzy gray kitten way over here, which was every bit as pretty as the white and the black cat. So he took that one too. Oh my gosh, he's dropping cats. Look at all these cats. And now he saw one way down in the corner, which he thought was too lovely to leave. So he took that cat too. How many cats does this man have? And just then, over here, the very old man found a kitten, which was very black and very beautiful. We'll grab this guy. He just couldn't leave it. And now over there, he saw a brown cat with yellow stripes, kind of like a baby tiger. I simply must take it, he said. Another cat. So it happened that every time the very old man looked up, he saw another cat, which was just as pretty, and he could not bear to leave it. And before he knew it, he had chosen them all the cats. And so he went back over the sunny hills and down through the cool valleys to show all his pretty kittens to the very old woman. It was funny to see these hundreds and thousands and millions and billions of trillions of cats following him. Then they came to a pond. Mew, mew, we are thirsty, cried the hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions and trillions of cats. Well, here there's a great deal of water, said the very old man. And every cat took a sip until, what do you think happens when every cat, millions of cats, take a sip of water? The pond was empty. Mew, 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 we're hungry, said the cats. Hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions and trillions of cats. Let's get them back up, all the cats. There's a lot of grass on this hill, said the very old man. So each cat ate a mouthful of grass, and not a blade was left. So many cats. Pretty soon, the very old woman saw them coming. My dear, she cried, what are you doing? I asked for one little cat, and what do I see? Cats here, cats there, cats everywhere, hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions and trillions of cats. So, what do you think they're gonna do? The old woman said to the very old man, we should just let the cats decide which one we keep, whichever one is the prettiest. Oh yes, said the very old man. Which one of you is the prettiest? Oh, and that started a big cat fight. They began to fight, all the cats, deciding which one was the best cat. Ah, cat fight! And there was just one kitty cat left. Can you see him? He's black cat. He's camouflaged with the black flannel board. But when there was just the one cat left, the very old man and the very old woman said that they were going to take that kitten. So they took the kitten into the warm house where the very old woman gave him a nice warm bath and brushed its fur until it was nice and soft and shiny. Every day they gave it plenty of milk, and soon it grew nice and plump. And it was a very pretty cat after all, said the very old woman. It is the most beautiful cat in the world, said the very old man. I ought to know, for I've seen hundreds of cats, thousands of cats, millions and billions and trillions of cats, and not one was as pretty as this one. That is the end of Millions of Cats. All right, I have another true story for you. This one is from 1927. It is about a female pilot named Ruth Elder. So you may have heard of Amelia Earhart, but she's a new lady on the scene. And this book is called Flying Solo, and it is by Julie Cummins. Ruth Elder didn't look at all like her name. At 23 years old, she was a beauty queen with a sparkling personality, a smile as bright as a toothpaste ad, and plenty of pluck. She was fascinated with the newspaper stories about Charles Lindbergh's solo flight across the Atlantic Ocean. After taking just a few flying lessons, she was determined to become the female Lindbergh and be the first woman to fly across the Atlantic. It wouldn't be easy. In 1927, airplanes were a thrilling but dangerous novelty. Most people, men and women, believed that a woman belonged in the kitchen and not the cockpit. Did that deter Ruth? Not one bit. She simply set out to prove them wrong. It's an old kitchen, though, from the 1920s. Look at this stove. Anyways, on October 11th, 1927, Ruth and her co-pilot, flying instructor George Haldeman, prepared to take off for Paris in American Girl, a plane as flamboyant as Ruth's personality. Ruth posed on the wing of the plane with a picnic basket. She winked and blew a kiss to her fans in the press as she claimed she had two reasons for flying to France. She wanted to be the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and I have a desire to buy a Parisian evening gown, and why not fly to Europe to buy it? Two-thirds of the way into their destination, after 36 hours in the air, an oil line on the plane ruptured. Serious trouble. No land was in sight, but Ruth spotted a ship below them. With no radio contact or radar, she grabbed two paper boxes, wrote "help" on them, and tossed them out of the plane. Luckily, one landed on the ship's deck. The captain pointed his ship toward land and quickly had a message painted on the deck that said the nearest land was 350 miles away, too far for the sputtering plane. Ruth and George were forced to ditch the American Girl in the water. Just a few minutes after they were rescued, the plane burst into flames. Ruth declared, "We'll do it over again." She never lost her courage or her lipstick. When the ship reached Europe, Ruth had to borrow the evening gown, but she was instantly famous for her daredevil feat. The public had a new heroine. European royalty welcomed her. A tick-tape parade was held in her honor in New York City. She was even invited to lunch at the White House. Ruth signed a $250,000 vaudeville tour contract, and Hollywood called. She appeared in two silent movies with Western stars Hoot Gibson and Richard Dix. But even though she relished the spotlight, America's heartthrob wasn't ready to fold up her wings yet. She wanted to prove to America that she was a real aviatrix. On August 18th, 1929, Ruth and 19 other women set out to show that women could fly airplanes just as well as men in the first women's cross-country air race. The pilots had more than headwinds to counteract. One reporter sputtered, "The only thing worse than dames in planes is dames racing planes." The day of the big event arrived with a buzz of excitement and anxiety. It would be no piece of cake. The zigzag route started in Santa Monica, California, and finished in Cleveland, Ohio, covering 2,759 miles. The racers would have to pilot halfway across the country using only road maps and their own two eyes to find the way. Ruth, flying solo this time, wasn't the only attraction. Amelia Earhart, who had beaten Ruth by being the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, was favored to win this race too. The other racers ran the gamut of experience, from aerobatic and transport pilots to plane builders, but they were all pioneers. As the women strapped themselves in, checked their maps and emergency provisions, a gallon of water, milk tablets, and beef jerky, Ruth and several other women took a second to powder their noses. From then on, the race was called a powder puff derby. By nature, spunky Ruth wasn't easily cowed, but during the race, she had a standoff with real cattle. On the second day, temperatures climbed to 120 degrees, causing extreme turbulence. The strong wind blew her maps over the side of the plane, and she landed in a farmer's field to get her bearings and fill her water bottle. As luck would have it, cattle were grazing in the pasture, and all Ruth could think about was her plane, her red plane. Please, God, just let them all be cows, she prayed. But the farmer's wife was a bigger threat. Washing clothes outside in a wash tub, she marched over to the plane and yelled at Ruth for scaring the cattle. Ruth didn't dilly-dally. She just swung the plane around and took off. The story became the favorite and most embellished tale of the Derby. At every stop on the race course, crowds gathered to cheer the women on. On the last leg, a farmer in Ohio plowed a huge arrow in the middle of his harvested corn crop, pointing toward Cleveland. The female pilots dipped their wings to him in appreciation. Ruth got lost a few more times, but she never lost her determination to prove she was a competent flyer and she could finish the race. It took 9 days of grit and gumption, but Ruth finished the course, placing 5th. She stood proudly beside the winner, Louise Thatton, and the other women pilots who had shaped aviation history. They had proven that women could fly just as well as men. Ruth didn't leave it there. She adamantly claimed that American women could be fighter pilots in the future. And she was right. Even astronauts up here. And that is the end of Flying Solo. All right, so that is it for our Roaring 20s story time for this month. And next month we'll have a 1930s themed story time, so get ready for that one. We'll do one more song to say goodbye to each other. This one goes to the tune of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, if you know that one. We're gonna start with hands go up and hands go down. I can turn around and round. I can jump up on 2 shoes. I can clap and so can you. I can wave, I'll show you how. Story time is done for now. Bye everyone.